welcome to In the Rising podcast. My name is Bettina Brown, and this is the platform I've chosen to talk about living a life that's in alignment with your hopes, your dreams, and your goals, or in your rising. And I am really thrilled for this podcast because I like to talk about moving forward and walking away from shame and blame, the shame-blame game that does nothing for you. And my guest today is Caramel Lucas, who I find just to be a superstar. She's just a person, when you have a conversation with her, you're just in a good mood throughout it. You can hear it in her voice. You can hear the joy. And you can also hear her excitement with her different projects. And I'm really blessed to have her on my podcast today. Caramel Lucas, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Perfectly. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Caramel, thank you so much for being on In the Rising podcast. I am eager to talk to you because you are an active, busy woman, actor, comedian, author, podcaster. Like, it just goes on. But I love this. Where did you get this creativity from? Like, where are these juices flowing from?
I guess I always been creative when I was growing up. You know what I mean? I love doing different things. I don't like sitting down. Like, I can't sit still, I have to create something new for myself. I always love to learn. I always love to try new things. So I'm adventurous, I just love doing things and talking to people, so when I do stuff, I do it because I love to do it. I love entertainment, period. And I always been this way. I'm always been a talker. When I was growing up, my mom was like, sit down, shut up. I could never shut up, So it's been created inside of me, and I love every bit of it, yeah, basically.
So I don't meet a lot of comedians, right? I get to interview and talk with authors, podcasters, but comedian, like, to me, that takes some adventure. Like, that's big. Where did this come from?
This is crazy. I used to be a class clown in school, right? And I'm always playing around and doing stuff. And my teachers always tell me, like, sit down, like, sit down. I'm always joking on everybody. And everybody had the class laughing or whatever. But as I grew up, I was like, I could never be a comedian. I could never do none of this stuff, right? So I decided to, like, move on to something different. I was a model for a long time. I modeled for a long time. I'm a published model because I've been in so many magazines and stuff like that. So when I moved to Orlando, I decided to, hey, you know what? I'm going to face my fears. I'm going to go ahead and do comedy. This is what I've been wanting to do for a long, long, long time. And I'm going to just go ahead and do it. So I did improv first, and I loved it. I was like, oh, improv. So then I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and take a comedy class just to see how well I do. And I went and took a comedy class, and I loved it. I love being on stage. I love, like, it was only me, lights, action, camera, me. Okay. And that's when I decided to go ahead and do comedy. And then I did my first show, Drag Queens. And I did a good job, and they loved me, and they asked me to come back. And I'm like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm just having a blast doing it. I could be myself, and I could talk however I want to talk, and no one cares.
And no one's telling you to sit down, be quiet. Like,
exactly. Nobody's telling me to sit down and be quiet. You have to do your work or anything. I can be myself, and I am goofy anyway. So being goofy and having a big personality shows on stage, I can be, I'm adult comedy mostly because I love talking junk to people. And, everything right now is basically what it is, but I could do clean comedy, but I love adult comedy. That's just what I love to do.
Yeah. And you said something, you're like, face my fears. Do you feel like you've always been able to face your fears, or is that something like that took a little time for you?
Facing my fears was hard for me. For some reason, as I was class clown, and like as I was growing up, but when I was a little kid, I was very quiet. I was scared of what people would say to me. I was very timid. I didn't want to say too much. and I kept myself in the room writing a lot because I was like, I was scared of rejection. I was scared of people saying things to me that makes me feel bad. So I didn't really say too much, but as I grew up, I was like, hold up. I have to find myself. And I got into like 10th grade, and that's when I found myself. I was like, I'm gonna start saying whatever I want to say when I want to say it. And I've always been that way since 10th grade. For a long time, I was scared. I was the skinny girl with glasses, with long hair. And I was just scared that people was gonna joke me or say something to me because I had these big glasses on. And I thought they was gonna say something to me. But I faced my fears as I grew up. And as I'm growing, I'm still going through a lot. And now I don't really care about what people think about me at this point. It took a while. I felt rejection only because I didn't have a father figure there in my life, and I felt like I was rejected. And then that's when I was so timid and didn't really want to say anything. But then I realized like, I can be myself. I can do things for me. And I just start doing that.
That's awesome. Because, this is a podcast, so it's audio, but we're face to face. I get to see you and I can see your confidence. Like I can see a woman who is comfortable in her skin and in her glasses. And so, and that took some time. And, the thing is when we grow up, that's a lot when we get rejection. If you have rejection now, do you feel like it's able to even penetrate deeply or your perspective is different?
My perspective is very different right now. I feel like, my mom gave me a lot of love and affection, and she tried to be the everything around it, the man, the mother, the father, my sister, my cousin. So she tried to be everything in one. And with her and her twin sister, they raised me to be the woman that I am today. They're both confident. Her twins, my mom's twin is more confident, and my mom is more loving. And I put them together, and I grew to be this woman that I am. I'm very confident in myself, and I'm very loving at the same time. You know what I mean? And without those two, I don't know where I will be, but they surrounded their love and their attention on me so I can grow up to be the woman that I am today. So I'm so appreciated. And my perspective of life now is like, I could be whatever I want to be. So that's why I'm so adventurous of what I do, because I have no fear. I am going to do this. And when I set my mind to doing something, I'm going to do it. That's what it is.
Yeah. I like how you said, when I set my mind, that's just the way it's going to be. And that's a very good frame of reference. So you have this comedian, you have this action that you're doing. You're also an author.
Right.
Can you expand on that?
I started writing, being an author in 2013. I wanted to let people know that I can write. I'm not only goofy, but I also can write. I can really express myself. And so I decided to write a book called In Love with the Other Man. And it's a erotic book, romance and all this good stuff. And I love the romance about it. And I love life situations. The book is about life situations. And if you read the book, you can feel someone's life, because everybody has their own lives. And I have a woman that's married. I have a woman that's single. I have a woman that cheats. I have a woman that does. And you can feel it. You know someone, or you've been in that situation. And that's what I wanted people to grab onto. And from there, I started doing poetry. And so now I'm a published poet. And my books are in Urban and Wind publishing books. And have won many trophies for that. And now I write for a reality TV show. And so I'm super happy about that. I write the episodes. I'm a co-writer of a reality TV show that's about to come out. And I'm super excited about that. And she believed in me. And I'm happy that she did, because now I'm writing the episodes, and the episodes are amazing. Mm-hmm. And every time we film it, it's like, and that's why I love writing so much. And that's why I want to be an author, because only me being an author, I also made the book into a movie. Mm-hmm. And I just love doing stuff like this, only because it's like I'm not trying to get acknowledgement of what I do. I'm just trying to put a legacy down for myself. So when I'm gone or something happens to me, my family could say my daughter did this or my mom did that or my cousin did this, and you can go back and see the things that I've put my footprint on. And then they can say, wow, she left something so we can remember her of, you know?
Yeah. So, you can feel the emotion with the way you say it, that, when you said, wow, I'm seeing these episodes in that moment when they're saying, the actors are saying what you have created, what you've written down, what are those emotions that you feel at that moment?
Oh my God, it's just unbelievable because it's just like when you write an episode and you see people act it out and you're like, I wrote that. They're just doing that, And I'm just looking at them and I'm like, yes, do it. Kill it. Kill this episode, right? And they doing such a great job. And the reality show is called Melt on This Music. It's about music artists just trying to find their dream. And it's just so amazing how these artists are so amazing. The producer is so amazing and she does everything to make things work out, and it's just great to see the artists sing, and each one of them have their own performance and their own personalities, and for them to shine and whatever I write, they kill it. And I'm like, I'm so super excited about this whole thing that's going on, and I just can't wait for everybody to see it. It's just amazing. I love it.
So when you're doing your writing, because writing is not, I mean, that's a vulnerable moment, right? That's your creativity coming out. How do you feel, or do you believe in writer's block, I guess is my question.
I believe in writer's block, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I never had it. I think the reason why I never had it is because I focus on what I'm trying to do at that point. I think writer's block comes when you're not fully focused on what you're trying to write, and then you just forget, like, I don't even know what to write next. So I have my vision of what I'm going to write, and when I start writing, I just write. I don't want to stop, you know because if I stop, then maybe I'll get the writer's block. So I just want to go to my vision and my purpose of writing, and I just write it. And then when I finish, I'm like, okay. And if I want to add on, I can add on, but I just write whatever comes in my mind at that point, and then I pull back, and then I look at it, read it, and then I add on to whatever I need to add on to. So
Yeah.
I never had writer's block, but I believe in writer's block is basically people that just don't know what to write next.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck and they were already written something, but they don't know which direction they want to go to next.
What do you think, because you're an author, you're a published author, what are some traps for aspiring authors that you see, or that you avoided, or that you had to go through yourself?
Well, first of all, a title. you know, writing a title, I had this struggle of what titles that I'm gonna write, and I'm like, okay, what title would be good? But as I start writing, I look at my writing, and then I pick a title from of the topic of what I'm gonna write, doing the writing that I picked out, and that's how I get my topic. Oh, it could be this, you know what I mean? And that's one thing I was struggling with. It was like the titles when I was writing. I'm like, I don't even know what title I'm gonna put, but I'm just gonna write it and I'll figure it out as I write.
Yeah.
Another thing was with me was that I didn't know how many pages I was going to write, how many words I'm going to write, because writing words is a lot of words to write. Okay. So I didn't know if I was going to stop to like 2,000, 20,000, or whatever. I was just writing to write. And whatever I come up with at the end of it, I didn't know if it was going to be a long, I didn't know if it was going to be short. I was just going to write. And whatever it came up with, that's what I was going to end up with.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes people like thick books, some people like small books. I would just write whatever. If it's thick, it's thick. If it's short, it's short. Whatever comes out with it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you also are a podcaster. Expand. Tell me, what is this about? What are you doing with your podcast?
You know what? It's funny. I wasn't even going to think about podcasting. That wasn't even in my mind. But this pandemic that we was going through, I was working for corporate and they furloughed me. And I'm like, ugh, why? So I was like, because I was still doing my stand-up, I was still writing, I was still doing all that, but podcast was not even in the picture at that time, you know? And I'm like, what can I do to talk to people? I need people. I need to talk to somebody because stand-up, you couldn't go into the buildings because that was all Zoom kind of thing, and I didn't want to do Zoom. I'm like, so I needed to talk to some people because I was getting lonely. And I was like, podcasting. I'm going to do a podcast. I could talk to people. I can voice my opinions. We can talk and have conversations and however. And so I did a podcast in April of 2020. And that's when I started my podcast. And I was like super happy. And it's called Keeping It Real with Caramel, as we say, 100. And everybody always asks me, what does 100 mean? 100 means be truthful, be real. Don't sugarcoat anything. Be yourself. Let's talk about what's going on, where you been, where you at, and what you're gonna do in the future. Let's talk about, what's going on with you. Let's have a conversation. And what you're doing right now is great because we're having a conversation. And that's how my podcast is. I want to have a conversation with people. I want to know what you've been through. Don't sugarcoat it. We all have a story. So let's tell our story and talk about different things that, other people can relate to.
Yeah. Because that's where we build a community. It's the relationship,
Right.
Even if it's a further or through Zoom or across the country, across the world, it's that relationship. You've really gone, you've done from being a timid person to being outgoing. You have really risen up to where you are right now. As Caramel sits here today talking to Bettina, when you look back on your life, what would you tell the little girl in 5th grade or 6th grade before you
I'm
did
about
that?
to get so emotional right now. Oh my God. I would tell my younger self that don't worry about other people, how they feel about you. Be yourself, find you, be the better of you, and know that you are going to be greatly loved. People are going to love your personality, people are going to love who you are, and you don't have to stand up to anyone's standards but yourself, and just focus on what you're trying to go, where you're trying to go and where you're trying to do, because long as your family loves you, who cares about everything else?
That's right.
Your family supports you more. And I get so emotional about that. It's because, for so long I felt like I needed to find a way to be appreciated, and I didn't feel appreciated, as much as I thought I should have. But, when you grow into your skin and learn that you can be appreciated for who you are, then that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. I totally feel that with you. And now I'm going to ask you one more question. Where do you see yourself rising up to next? Like, what is on the horizon or on the mountaintop for Caramel Lucas in her future?
You know what? I don't even know. I let God lead my purpose. And whatever my purpose is that God leads me to, that's what I do. And for so long, I was thought I had control of my life. I got control of this. I know where I'm going. But then you realize that you don't have control. God has control of you. And whatever purpose that he has for you, then that's what you follow. So I follow his purpose and follow his lead. So whatever it is, I'm gonna follow it and I'm gonna keep on going. So if he say you need to do this, I'm gonna do it. Whatever it is, I don't even know where I'm gonna go next. But I do know that right now I'm enjoying the ride and I'm just gonna keep moving because I'm touching someone's heart. I don't care if it's not millions of people's heart, but at least if I touch one person, I'm doing it. I'm doing what God told me to do. That's my purpose.
Yeah. That's a beautiful purpose. And I believe the same thing. Like if there's God's will, somehow it'll happen. And you don't always know those next steps. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where the money's coming from. You don't know a lot. And then suddenly it just falls into place. And I get the goosebumps myself, just saying like, okay, I guess I'm on the right track. So
Right.
gosh, yeah,
Exactly. Because sometimes you just like figure out, like, sometimes when things don't go your way, you feel
yeah.
like he's not there for you. But as they say, he wants you to work for what you want to work for, and he will guide you the rest of the way. You can't sit there and wait. I'm gonna wait till God help me out. You can't sit there because you're not showing him that you want it. So you have to go for what you want, and then he will help you the rest of the way. So that meaning that you have to push, and it might take years for figuring out how you're supposed to get there, but he knows that you dedicated and motivated and inspire what you're doing. So what he's going to do is he's going to let you go ahead and do what you got to do, and then he's going to go ahead and glide you the rest of the way.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful. I've enjoyed this conversation this morning. It's also enlightening. And thank you for your time. So I want that people are able to access you. Why don't you tell how they can get run off? I'm here, and here.
Exactly. Okay, I know y'all want to follow me. Now, seriously, you can find me on Instagram at Caramel Lucas. You can find me on LinkedIn at Caramel Lucas. You can find me on my Facebook page on my fan page, Caramel Lucas. You can get on my website. It's www.caramellucas.net. Twitter is ms__caramel. My podcast, Keeping It Real with Caramel.
So Caramel and I had what I found was one of the best 25 minutes of my days in a long time. She just has so much energy, so much excitement. And I appreciated how she talked about her family, that the love of her family keeps her going, and that she was a shy little girl and has found her voice and is really comfortable in her skin. And I was able to see that through the video, but you can just feel it through her voice, that she is very comfortable facing her fears, doing improv, writing books, writing screenplays, acting, modeling. And it just goes to show that whatever you want to do, if you allow it, it will come through and it will be there for you. And I'm really grateful also that Caramel shared her faith. I understand that we're not all faith-based individuals, but when you are and you live in your assignment and your purpose, you can share that as well. And so thank you so much for your time today. If you appreciated this podcast, liked Caramel, enjoyed this, share it with someone. There's so much we can do to share positive things with others, putting it in the hands and ears of those that it can make a difference for. Leave a review, leave a 5-star review for this podcast. It does so much to broaden the horizon and help others rise as well. And until next time, let's keep building one another up.